Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Write Your Own Story podcast. I am so excited for today. I've been talking about it all week in prep for this show. I want to welcome Zoey Charif, who is the author of Love Can In Fact Be Calculated. Zoey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Same. I have loved our chit chat off camera and like per usual with all these amazing women I meet, I'm like, gosh, let's save it for the show. But like, your energy, your intelligence, this is just going to be a fantastic episode.
Thank you. Likewise.
I like to start every episode off with an intention, just to really ground both you and I to be like, here's how we are showing up today to serve the female community who is listening, and any men out there, I see you. But also just for our listeners to really know what to expect and all those great things. So I'm really excited for like the specific wording of this episode dedication. So I'm going to read it directly from the page. This episode is for women who have lost faith in themselves or whose bad experiences with love have left them feeling hopeless. It's a reminder that you are worthy of safe, reciprocal love, and that through self-confident, smart choices and self-awareness, you can create the love and the life you deserve. I'm like, well, this episode's for me.
For all of us.
Indeed. I wrote this a week ago. And then when I read it in prep for, just trying to refresh my mind with everything for the last hour or two, I was like, oh, hi, it's me.
Hey, I'm a married woman, and trust me, even I start to doubt myself, yes. Right? So at all stages in the relationship, it's a good reminder on how to build self-worth, right? So yeah, it's for all of us, truly.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you for that. That makes me feel better because I am single. And it is hard sometimes to not feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ever going to find somebody. I'm certainly not in a rush. But this actually tees up my first question around modern dating.
Yeah.
I know that you are married and in a relationship, but I know you've done in-depth studies sort of around the anthropology of love and connection and all the things, which I can't wait to dive into because I'm a total data nerd. But why do you think modern dating is so challenging for people?
I mean, it's tough. I think that, years ago, decades ago, it was very obvious what you were looking for in a man, and it was obvious for men what they were looking for in women. And now I think that gender roles are a bit more complex and a bit more entangled. So now I think that it's getting a little confusing, right? In terms of what your values are, who you're bringing in as a partner to match those values. And also, I think that we all have higher standards. And what that means is you want to make sure that you're choosing a partner who's meeting those high standards, right? With social media in particular, think about it. We're constantly bombarded with all these people who are quote unquote succeeding in life, right?
Yes.
That's just what we see. We don't know what's happening in the background, but what we see is a woman or a man with a beautiful image, with a lot of money, with education, with a big social group, with whatever, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we're like, that should be my standard. That's who I need to be. Beyond who I need to be, that's what I need to attract. And I think we're kind of in a position where we all assume that unicorns exist out there, and we are not willing to compromise unless we come across a unicorn, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to be true for everyone, but I do think that it's absolutely added a complexity to modern dating.
Absolutely. I have so many thoughts on that. So from personal experience, when I am scrolling on social and, they like suggest people for you to be friends with, et cetera, or like, people will pop up in my feed and they're like this beautiful married couple with their children in the photos. And they're like, I get like sort of a level of grief sometimes, for the most part, I've healed so much. I am like very content, very happy. I feel very free,
Mhm.
which I know is a huge gift. So
Mhm.
like everyone take all of this with a grain of salt,
Mhm.
but like in my more vulnerable moments, this is what I feel. I'll feel that level of grief to be like, that's what I thought we were, or etc. But being a divorced woman, a lot of people confide in me, and I take that very seriously.
Mhm.
But I have gotten more insight to what is behind the curtain in social media.
Mhm.
And I don't think anyone's false advertising. I think they're trying to project what they want to be true.
Mhm.
But I have to remind myself when I see these perfect looking families, and I really hope everyone is happy as they look in the picture.
Yeah.
But I know often that is not the case. And that reminds me not to rush it and not to settle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very easy to get caught up in image consciousness. And also,
Mm,
I mean, we are taught from the time that we're kids that that's what the end goal is, to
yeah.
have a spouse, to have kids, and to have a home. You know, as kids, we're thinking about our wedding dresses. We're
Yeah.
thinking about what age would be the best age to get married and to have kids, right? And the
Mhm.
career. Like, it's essentially set up for us. It's ingrained within us that
Yeah.
that's what we should want. And so when we achieve that, it is a status symbol. We live in a
Mhm.
society where marriage is a status symbol. And
Gosh, I never thought of it that way, but
it,
absolutely.
yeah, so I'm a part of a business group. And
Of
I was
course you
kind
are,
of
you badass queen.
thank you. But I was actually we went to this event and I was telling one of my friends, she's single, and I told her, I'm like, pay attention to how often the partners, the spouses are getting a shout out, how often people are getting celebrated for their engagement, for having a child. I'm like, just pay attention. It was
Mm.
constant. And she's
Mhm.
single and she's like, wow, I haven't, like, you know, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah. And I told her, I'm like, it's a
Mhm.
status symbol. It's a status symbol, which makes it difficult because I'm sure there are a ton of single people in the group. And
Yeah.
why
Who
don't
are
we
like,
have a retreat for them?
right? Also, why
Why?
can't I get celebrated for the fact that I chose to walk away from something that didn't serve me?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would like a trophy.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think that that's where the narrative gets a little skewed. There seems to
Yeah.
be more importance and more respect for couples who are currently together, married, have their kids, and quote unquote have their shit together. Because
Yeah.
that's the assumption. If you're
Yeah.
married, you must have your shit together. No, not necessarily.
Not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily. To your point, you don't know what's going on in the background, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully it's great. Hopefully, they have good communication. But the reality is a marriage is very hard,
Yes.
right? And I think that we need to normalize not settling. I think we
Yes.
need to normalize,
Snaps. Oh my
yeah,
God. Freaking out.
knowing
Please,
that we're going to be
girls.
alive for the next 50 years and we're
Yeah.
choosing not to settle, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, that's where it gets a little, okay, well, how do you know that this
Yeah.
relationship isn't for you? How do you know that it's time to give up on it, right? How do you
Yes.
know that you've exhausted all the tools? So I think that's where the conversation needs to go. But with that, if you implement all these tools and you're finding that all signs point to, hey, you're not fulfilled,
Mm.
and all signs to you're going to lead a very long life. The
Mhm.
question is, do you want to settle? Do you want to
Right.
be in it?
Yes, married or not.
Mhm.
And so when I think about kind of teeing us up to what the formula exists, what exists within the formula.
Mhm.
So as a single person who has tried dating apps,
Mhm.
which I am on a hiatus to be clear, they just weren't good for my mental health
Mhm.
because at this current state, I reserve the right to change my mind, but at the current state, everyone feels like an option.
Mhm.
Myself, like, someone new is just a swipe away. And I was like, that feels the most inhuman way of being that I can imagine. When this is really built to connect people, it's actually dividing people because no one's fully present because someone else is one swipe away. And I thought that, just to me, that was, it's really hard for me to come to terms with. That feels icky.
Mhm.
That's a generalization, but that's my feelings
Mhm.
I've shared.
Mhm.
The other thing is that people are putting, similar to social media, we're all putting our best profile, best foot forward. But we all, because we've been humans and we've humaned and things are hard and life has happened, come with at least a carry-on suitcase, if not a steamer trunk full of baggage.
Mhm.
A lot of us have done a lot of work to heal, etc. But it's hard to evaluate from literally not knowing anyone at all. You're like, I think you're cute in your profile picture and we have some things in common, and like maybe you shared something and I can relate to that.
Mhm.
That's all you get to jump off from.
Mhm.
And you're supposed to like slowly get to know these people.
Mhm.
So the idea of having evaluative criteria outside of like, I know my worth and I know my values, was really interesting to me, because it really is the blind dating the blind out there. Like I get spooked because, you match with someone and you are like kind of, you have like great text chemistry, and then you go search them on, are we dating the same guy?
Oh,
And you
yeah.
see what has been experienced by all these other women, and it spooks you. You're like, oh my God.
Mhm.
So anyway, that is all. And I share that one for anyone else out there who is feeling that way on apps. You are not alone. For anyone who's having good luck out there, keep going. I'm happy for you. But
Yeah. But honestly, I think that you touched on something very important here. We've normalized something in the last 10 years that was never a thing, right? In the past, and very recent past, by the way, you dated
yeah,
one person at a time. At the
yes,
most, maybe two or three, right? And that's because you're
yes,
exploring your options, you're checking to see who might be the best fit. Today, dating apps, it's like fast food. It's like fast
yes,
dating. It's like
yes.
there's no quality in it, and it's just
Mm-mm.
a quick hit, a quick dopamine hit. And
Yes,
to your point, imagine what it does to someone's trust and subconscious knowing that you're now about to have dinner. This person has a ton of people in their DMs, right?
yes,
And you have apparently no right to ask them anything deeper, like in terms of what are your what do you want from this? What are your
yeah,
end goals? It's too deep, right? It's like, oh my gosh, she wants something too serious. God forbid. God forbid.
right.
We've literally normalized casual dating, casual sex. This whole dating app world, that's fast food. It's
It
fast
is.
dating. That's what we've normalized. And it's
Yes,
so unhealthy for the mind, so unhealthy for emotions too. So yeah, I'm sure that you're not the only person who feels that way. And sadly, we have a lot of people that are just perpetuating this because it's
yes,
very convenient for men, by the way.
yes,
Very
yes.
convenient, right? Sorry,
And
I don't
like,
mean to, like, demonize the men in all of this, right? But
yeah.
for men, sex has become so easy to get. It's not something
Mm,
that they necessarily have to, work for anymore, and, it's like it's at the fingertip. Tinder,
it really is. It's a
Tinder.
couple swipes away.
It's a couple swipes away, and it's a numbers game. If it doesn't
Yeah.
happen with the first girl, just swipe 10 others, right? So it's like, where's
And
the effort? Sorry, go ahead.
whereas, no, please. But I was just going to say, in terms of a numbers game, from the women's perspective, like you have thousands of people swiping on you. So does it fill the void of like, yeah, people want me? Absolutely. But
Mhm.
then, like, it can be hard because you're like, of the literally thousands of people that have liked my profile, I'm like, all of them are
I
strangers.
know.
I'm like, and a lot of them, I'm like, just off the bat, you're like, this isn't the right fit. This isn't the right fit. So, like, as great as that feels initially, then it just becomes daunting. And then it just becomes, this is so negative, but this is
Okay.
where I am currently, disappointing.
Mhm.
And you're like, well, but I don't know. Anyway, but I love that, like, whether you meet someone in person, which is what I'm really hoping to do,
Mhm.
or, if I get re-energized and want to go back on the apps, then maybe I will. But like, let's talk about where you even got to in terms of like, why do we need a formula? Why did you feel inspired to come up with a
Yeah.
formula? And then I would love to talk about the data and the analytics behind it and sort
Sure.
of the methodology and all that great stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this idea came to me 20 years ago. I had my heart broken. I was cheated on.
Ugh,
And I told
so
myself,
sorry.
I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah,
So,
right?
right. So I looked online and I came across this article that said you can't fall in love with someone unless they're a match. So I elaborated that theory on figuring out and measuring a match.
Mhm.
So there were several iterations, but eventually I landed on one iteration that works because I can validate through data analytics that in fact you can measure a match, and in fact that match, it's a numerical match, right? So I can predict
Mhm.
whether two people will stay together or whether they'll break up. I can also predict if they're unfulfilled. So sometimes with kids mortgage, it's tough to cleanly step away, right? I've known married
Yes,
couples, in fact, that just can't do that because the kids will get hurt, and I fully respect that so much,
totally. Yeah.
right? But at the same time, it's like the numbers are showing you guys are not fulfilled. So
Mm.
do what you will with that, right? If you
Yeah,
can make it work, make it work. If you can come back to a place of alignment, even better, because the framework does help to do that as well. But
awesome.
so sorry, I went on a tangent there. How I
I love
came up with
tangents. They're very welcome here.
it.
Very welcome.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had my heart broken and I told myself I don't want
Mm.
this to happen again. And then I developed a formula. And one thing I didn't realize from the formula as I was developing it, I recognize that it actually starts with self-worth and self-confidence, which I call the self-score. So I recognized that unless you have that, you're not likely going to be in a fulfilling relationship because you're probably going to attract just not the right person, right? If you don't
Absolutely.
have good self-worth, you're probably not going to have high standards. You're probably just not going to attract a rock or someone who wants to be a rock or someone who has
Mm.
healthy relationship tendencies. So that's one thing that I didn't realize would come out of all of this, that it's a tool for self-confidence
Oh,
first
I
and
mean, and
foremost.
every woman deserves a tool for self-confidence. My
Yeah.
goodness. Do you come from like a data analytics background? Like what made you want to get into the numbers of it all?
Yeah, well, actually, I come from a criminology background, so that's what I studied in
Ooh,
school.
that's
Yeah.
badass.
Thank you. I was so intrigued with like human behavior and the dark side of human behavior. Mind you, when I was cheated on, that completely pivoted to like,
Yeah.
okay, how do I not get hurt? So the human behavior.
I would count that as the dark side of human
You're
behavior as
right.
well. It's kind of like a murder side.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, with breakups, you do grieve. And
Yes.
there is a harm to your subconscious and to your mind. So,
Yes.
yeah, I think the two go hand in hand, actually.
Yeah.
Just one of them is dark. The other one has a potential for darkness, absolutely, but also for joy and for
Yeah.
ecstasy, right? Which is love.
Yeah.
But with
Not
the
murder.
data, yeah.
Sorry.
What? Say that again?
I was like, not murder.
Not mur Sometimes it can lead to no, I'm just kidding. Um, so 6 years ago, when I was taking this more seriously and I'm like, "I really want to publish this,"
Yeah.
I took data analytics in school,
Yeah.
and I essentially validated that the analytics confirm that love is predictable, fulfillment is
Wow.
predictable, that self-worth is predictable. Not
Yeah.
predictable, but that you can
Measurable.
work on your self-worth with numbers, in fact, with
Yeah.
numbers, right?
Mm.
And then, yeah, then I really just kept writing and writing and writing, and finally I published it last November. And yeah, that's the story behind it.
Hey, fellow boss babe, if you're craving less time on social because it feels like you're constantly in your comments and DMs trying to respond back to your potential customers, I totally get it. When I had my e-commerce business, I felt like I checked Instagram every 5 minutes. But what if there was a smarter, easier way to connect with your audience? Good news, there is. Let me introduce you to ManyChat, my go-to tool for automating messages on Instagram, Facebook, and even text. With ManyChat, you can set up automated conversations in minutes. No tech headaches, no coding required. Trust me, if I can figure it out, so can you. It's perfect for handling links to your offers, growing your list with DM keywords, and even booking clients literally while you sleep. It's efficient, super user-friendly, and honestly, it's like having a virtual assistant built right into your DMs. And the best part? Because you're a friend of the Write Your Own Story podcast, you can try it totally free for your first month. Just use the link in the show notes. Is there anything better than to test something for your business for an entire month with no cost attached? It's my favorite. So if you're ready to save time, respond faster, and turn followers into clients, tap the link in the show notes and give ManyChat a try for free. First month's on me. Grab the offer today and go enjoy a much needed break from your phone. You deserve it. That's amazing. Okay, so what kind of factors are in the formula?
Okay. So first and foremost, you have to evaluate yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the theory is that you can't fall in love with someone or you will not have a healthy relationship. Or back that up. You will not be fulfilled. You will not be
Mm.
fulfilled if the person is not a match. So, how you figure out whether they're a match is first you list out your top 5 values. These are the general standards that you have in life. It can be purpose, it could be family, it could be career, it could be money, right? Or financial choices.
Mm-hmm.
It could be peace of mind. It could literally be anything you want. What are
Yeah.
the 5 standards, i.e., values, that you have? Measure
Yes.
yourself against each standard. What that means is
Mm.
how well do you feel you show up career wise? How well do you feel you show up family wise? And then you tally up that score. Whatever that
Yeah.
score is, that's a numerical assessment of your self worth. The
Ooh.
average self worth of women as it
Mm-hmm.
stands with the 300 surveys that we conducted is 76%. If you're above 76%, you're above average. That doesn't necessarily mean anything because you can have an 80 and 85 and still be hard on yourself, right? But the goal here
Absolutely.
is to not be hard on yourself, to be
Mm-hmm.
gentle, but to
Mm.
work on yourself, right? So now, if you're looking for a relationship, if that's your goal right now and that's where you stand, you're going to want to find someone who matches the 85% and even better, who exceeds the 85% by just a little. This is what we call admiration. And we found that the
Mm.
couples who are currently together admired each other. What that means is they rated their partner as slightly above, right? This is based on their perspective. So,
Yep.
Betsy, if, for example, you feel like you're not doing so great family wise
Mhm.
and you're giving
Yeah.
yourself maybe a 70% just for the family category,
Yep.
but you meet someone and they're like, damn, Betsy is such a good mom and she's just
Mm.
killing it and she's so lovely and she's so thoughtful. They might give you a 90%, right? Everything has to do with perspective. And with
Yeah.
that, that also means, Betsy, that if you are giving yourself a 70%, there are ways to change that, either by
Yeah.
realizing that you're being hard on yourself or engaging in acts that would make you feel like you're being a better mom.
Absolutely. I love this. And some of the coaching that I do around business, it's sort of like this like wheel of life type thing, but it's sort of a wheel of business. And just being able to identify, like we're all hard on ourselves in every category. And I love this idea of grounding it in your values to first do the work of identifying like what really are my values.
Yeah,
And then being able to like, you'll see the gaps, right? Like a 70% gap is way shorter or you're way more than than if you only have a 10% gap. So
yeah,
like you see visually, numerically, where your areas I love either for self-compassion, like you said, or for some room to grow. And what a gift to be able to identify where you can grow.
exactly.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I hit a rock bottom. I was broken up with. My career was nowhere. My money was nowhere. I was out drinking, partying, whatever. And clearly, that's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
healthy for the brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to get over a breakup. It was a pretty bad breakup.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was giving him a 15% score, 15% score above mine, right? That to me was a red flag for me. I'm like, Zoey, you need to chill out. Why are you giving this person such a high score? Were they dependable? Were they reliable? No.
Mm.
Values and dependability is a value of mine. Why did I ever think to give them a high score? I was wearing these rose colored glasses because I was
Yes.
hurt, right?
Yes.
So not only did I reduce his score there, I upped my score. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm reliable. I'm a
Yeah.
rock. I was there. I've been there, right?
Yeah.
So I gave myself a nice little score there, right?
Hmm.
So beyond that, I also dove right into purpose, which to me was my natural medicine. Because when I say purpose, I was writing my book, right?
Yeah.
And while I was doing that, it motivated me to just be better all around. Because again, when you feel healthy, mentally and emotionally healthy, you tend to engage in activities that fit your standards, that fit your
Yeah.
values, right? So all these pieces fell into place. And in the end, with all that work that I did, right, the self work, not only did I boost my score up to a healthy self score, I
Yeah.
also reduced his. And with that, I naturally became turned off.
Yes.
As humans, we are wired to engage with someone we want to be with, we feel we're lucky to be with, right? Now, not all of it will fall within the values category. There are traits too. That's a second category that you have to evaluate, right? And then you
Okay.
average that out. But as humans, our primal instinct is to match with someone who would create quote unquote a strong offspring, right? Now we're talking about evolutionary psychology
Right.
here,
Yep.
right? But that is a primal instinct. Even if we consciously don't realize that we have a checkbox, we absolutely do. We are
Yeah.
telling ourselves, I will not connect my body or my emotions to someone that I think I'm better than. That's just how we are, right?
Yeah.
So when you can evaluate these scores and you're going through a heartbreak and you can convince yourself that that person is actually less than you, naturally your hormones, your neurochemicals will not activate towards that person because you're going to
Mhm.
think, I am better. I'm a better catch. I can
Yeah.
do better. This is not for me. I choose to not engage in this. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. It makes absolute sense. And I think, I think a couple of things, just thinking about my dating experiences and, things that my single friends have shared is
Mhm.
like, one, I loved your analogy of rose colored glasses. I think it is so, the idea, the dating someone, like it is, what is the word? But basically like your chemicals just start going, like you get so excited because the potential is there. And
Mhm.
it's like really hard not to, you want to be optimistic and see someone's potential, but it
Mhm.
is a fine balance of being like, what is the rose colored glasses versus what is reality? And I also think, especially in the day of digital dating,
Mhm.
that it takes 3 months for someone's like all of our true colors to come out, right? Because everyone puts their best foot forward when you've just met someone. That's human nature. It's not manipulative. We're
Mhm.
all trying to be the best versions of ourselves, and it takes time for the dust to settle a little bit. So that was just something that I was like thinking about. I was like, you do these scores, and then I'm like, I wonder if you need to like rescore after 3 months and then rescore after another
Oh,
3 months
hell
to
yeah.
continue to check in.
I rescored my husband.
Yeah, right. You're like, just so you know, I'm rescoring.
I I had to. So, 6 months into our relationship, we
Mhm.
had really positive scores. He was slightly above mine, right? Which was really
Mhm.
positive for us because A, he realized that I admired him, right?
Yeah.
But also he understood what my standards are and what my values are, and I understood
Yeah.
his, right? So it
Yeah.
was such a solid tool for communication, and it was super positive. Um, Now fast forward a year into our relationship, we weren't that aligned. We were actually arguing quite a lot and we couldn't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
So I asked him to do the formula with me. And
Mhm.
essentially, we determined that both of our scores had lowered. I felt like he
Yeah.
was lower than mine. He felt like I was lower than his. The
Yeah.
main categories where we were both losing out was I was losing out on communication style and manners because I was being a little snappy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And he was losing out on dependability and reliability. And I felt like the rock that I had from the get go just got a
Mm.
little lazy over time, right?
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
happens in relationships, right? I just think we need to check each other. So we
Yeah.
did. And, of course, in a relationship, you don't want to feel like you're not showing up as a good spouse. No one wants
Right.
to feel that way, right? It
Right.
happens all the time
Mhm.
because it's impossible to be perfect all day, every day, especially if you're working, you have kids involved, there might be financial stresses, whatever it may be, right?
Right.
but it's a work, like, you have to work on that. So in seeing that I was scoring less in his eyes and he was scoring less in my eyes, we both worked towards that, towards, rebalancing that. So yes,
I love
rescoring
that.
is absolutely a thing. It's absolutely, in my opinion, if you want to make it work, necessary, not just in relationships, but for yourself as well. Like,
Yeah.
check
And your
in on
self-worth.
yourself.
Oh, yeah, I love
Check in
that.
on yourself. How's your health? Right?
Yeah.
What's your score today? What, check in. What was it last month? Where could you be working on? Right? I'm not saying like
Yeah.
be a unicorn, right? I'm not saying that, but
Yeah.
check out those trends, right?
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with
right.
that.
Look at the data.
Hmm.
Okay, my next question is, what if you, I guess this would probably be a systemic issue of the relationship, but like, how do you determine that you're evaluating, like, if you're like new in a relationship, you're not going to be like, I'm actually scoring you based on values. Like, that might just be something that you do on the DL for a minute.
Oh yeah.
So, like, you have your set values, you have your self worth score and theirs. What if your values, your top five aren't the same? And as your relationship progresses, I mean, I guess that is like a systemic issue, right? But
Yeah, it actually kind of doesn't matter. So,
really, okay,
yeah,
tell me
so
more.
we found that there is overlap, right? There is
Yeah.
overlap with couples. If we're talking specifically men and women, right? The
Yeah.
sample size was not large enough to make conclusions on
Yes.
same-sex couples, right? Or
Okay.
non-binary couples. So for hetero couples,
Yep.
um there was definitely overlap, right? So dependability and reliability was a top one for both, right?
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, but where men put more emphasis on, let's say, education,
Hmm.
women put more emphasis on career, right?
Yeah.
So there were a few that weren't necessarily overlapping, or that generally speaking were uh, like not ranked in the same way. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter though, because the goal is how they're rating you based on their values, right? So, for
Mm.
example, my values today, they're peace of mind, right?
Mm.
Purpose. I didn't used to have peace of mind as a value,
Yeah.
right?
Me either, but now I do. Yeah.
Right. It's so
Hmm.
important, right?
It
Because you
is.
work yourself on the peace of mind. So clearly you're going
Yeah.
to want to attract a partner who's either enhancing that peace of mind, but for sure not anchoring your peace of mind. No one wants that, right?
Absolutely.
Or
Right.
like bringing it down rather.
Yes.
but um but the person that I connect with might not have peace of mind. They might
Mm.
not care at all. Maybe what
Right.
they
Or it
care.
might not be top five.
Yeah, or it might not be top 5. Maybe for
Hmm.
them it's more um I don't know, just throwing it out there, communication style manners, right? Or
Hmm.
maybe it's adventurous, right? Are you adventurous? Are you
Hmm.
cultured? Or do you enjoy traveling? Blah, 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 right? But at the end of the day, if I score high within their values and they score high within my values, it doesn't matter. The goal, though, the best relationship is if they score 4% higher, right? That's the magic number, 4% higher than how I score myself, and I score 4% higher than how they score themselves, right?
Super,
Then
super
we both
interesting.
feel like we're lucky. And now we're
Yeah.
both going to put an effort towards a relationship. Now we're both going to feel like we're in a secure relationship, not anxious, avoidant, dynamic, and oh my God, runner, chaser, ugh, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
if we both feel lucky, then yeah, then things are more likely to work because you see that feeling of joy projected into the relationship and channeled into
Yes.
the relationship, right?
Right. Which just raises the energy of a relationship and like which obviously affects the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know the expression, but rising boats and tides and everybody's getting higher and it's all great.
Yeah.
I this is like beyond fascinating. So you had also mentioned that there are traits as a component of it as well. So I think like values, of course, are like the core to who we are. Oh, wait, before we get to traits, I remember the other question that I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you. So you had mentioned 4% being the magical sort of differentiation. Is there ever a level that's too high? Is there like an unhealthy admiration?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a
Okay.
distortion that I touch on in the book called the
Okay.
infatuation distortion. In fact, with the
Mm.
guy from like 5 years ago, I
Hmm.
was infatuated. 15%
Ah,
above me is not healthy. This is where tendencies such as self-sacrificing, overgiving,
Mm.
compromising, but to a point where it's not even a compromise, and once again it's self-sacrifice, those
Yes.
tendencies come in. And just to touch on the anxious avoidant relationship,
Hmm.
I feel like we are far too quick to assign that to people when they're just falling in a dynamic where they both think that one person is higher than the other. Sometimes it's just a matter of they're not interested in you and therefore they have avoidant tendencies. Other times it's a matter of your subconscious is getting pinged that you're not good enough for them, and now anxious tendencies are coming out. You might not be an anxious person. I bet you that if I put someone in your environment who treats you well, who wants to be your rock, you will be secure, right?
Yes.
So your
Oh my God.
attachment style is likely secure, in my opinion, right?
Yes.
At the very least, this bucket of anxious personality types and avoidant personality type, we need to stop assigning so many labels to people, because then you're romanticizing and you think there's a way to fix it, like 5 ways on getting the avoidant to pay attention to you, 5 ways on getting the avoidant to settle down with you. No, sometimes you're just not fitting their standards, and now
Right.
those they appear avoidant, but really they just don't want to fight for you, right?
And I feel like I'm obsessed with this because I think, yes, because it's so quick to label, and everyone's like, men are avoidant and women are anxious, and these broad sweeping generalizations. And like, you're like, I'm only safe if we're both secure. So I'm going to figure out your attachment style before I even know your middle name. Like,
Yeah.
so, but I think, what about the flip side where someone is super anxious? Well, maybe those people, maybe their score differentiation is so high and you've over romanticized them and you have the rose colored glasses on and that's what makes you anxious. Or maybe they're not meeting your value of communication and you think that you have to fix that. And
Yeah,
it's like, actually, maybe they're just not the right fit for you.
exactly. We need to normalize that. They're not the right fit. And even if you think they're right fit, if they don't want to be the right fit, then they're not the
Yeah.
right fit.
They're not
That
the right
means that
fit.
they're not going to be your rock, right?
Right.
And you need a rock in a relationship. Again, the number one value for both men and women was dependability and reliability, right? If you
Yes.
don't have that, everything else, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but you're not likely going to be in a stable, predictable, consistent relationship. And inconsistency and lack of predictability is literally the hallmark of the avoidant, right?
Mhm.
Another way to explain all of it is that in their eyes, you have a lower score.
Yep.
But can I make sure that I'm not leaving people just with that
You can
and
do
make,
whatever you want.
okay,
I
I don't
love
want
to. Yeah,
anyone to
keep
feel
going.
like crap right now, okay? So here's the thing. There are ways to go from this dynamic to a secure dynamic, which in my book I call green zone dynamic. There's red
Okay.
dynamic, yellow dynamic, green zone, okay? The
Okay.
yellow is low score versus high score, okay? So this is where anxious avoidance dynamics come into play.
Yep.
How do you boost that to a green zone, i.e. a secure? I'll teach you, okay? It comes down to your self score. When you think that they're better than you, what you're actually doing, whether it's body language, how you speak, how you act, whatever it may be, you're pinging their subconscious to think that they're better than you. If you're pinging their subconscious to think that they're better than you, they will be automatically, not automatically, but they are more likely to be turned off. This is just the human brain. You don't
Yes.
want to ping that in their brain. You want to ping
Mm-mm.
in their brain that they're lucky to have you. Do you know how you do that? By thinking that you're lucky to have yourself and that you're meeting your high standards. Work on your self score. Figure out what your standards are. Work on those standards, and that inner glow will show, because when you sit at the table with this new cute guy that you're interested in, if you think that you are equally a match, equally, a catch, that will
Mm-hmm.
show so much, and then something in their subconscious will ping, oh damn, she's got her shit
Mm-hmm.
together, she's so
Yep.
authentic, she's so real, she's so sure of herself, and that is magnetic. So If you're falling under anxious avoidant, it's okay. You don't need to stay there. But what you do need to do is stop putting so much focus on that person, because once again, energetically, subconsciously,
Yep.
you're pinging that. You need to
Yes.
stop that and work on yourself, and you will be magnetic.
Oh my God. Literally the mic just absolutely dropped. I think, and like what a gift to women. Like who cares if he is avoidant and like, drives you nuts and eventually leaves,
Uh-huh.
because like then he's not the guy for you. But what an opportunity to be like, I'm in a dynamic where like you can double down and be like, I really want to give this a go, but clearly the only thing I can control is myself. But what a gift to be like, I'm not going to control my behavior and I'm not going to text him too much. It's like, actually, no, I'm just going to focus on me and I'm going to glow up.
Yeah.
And if he's still around, fantastic.
Yeah.
And if and if this dynamic has become a healthy one, fantastic. If not, then let's both release us from this so we can go find the person that we're meant to be
Yeah,
with.
and at that point, you won't care, because at that point, you've really hit your standards, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a catch. I'm a
Yeah.
catch, and I'll wait for someone who wants to be with me, who gives me consistency. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it comes back to it's a lot easier to let go of someone when you're naturally turned off. The best way to be naturally turned off by someone is to work on yourself, your self-worth.
Yeah. God, that's so good.
Mhm.
Did everybody hear that? Are we taking notes? Are we rewinding? Are we pausing? Oh my gosh. And so even if you were in a marriage and you're like, I just feel like, we're unaligned, disaligned, or whatever on several things. Maybe step one is to work on your self score.
Always comes down to that. You can't expect to communicate over and over and over again and expect that person to change if you're first not meeting your own standards. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not meeting your own standards, how do you expect them to respect you? You need
Mm.
to respect yourself, right? And
Yes.
this isn't to sound harsh. I've been there. So I feel like I can
Haven't
kind
we
of
all?
like, yeah, exactly. We've all been
Yeah.
there, right?
Yes.
Once you start to gain self-respect and you have a strong self-score,
Yeah.
and a good assessment, by the way, a fair assessment, right? You don't want to give yourself top score for something that you're being half lazy at, right? So
Totally.
be fair, right? But once you have that, then you can start to evaluate, okay, truly with this partner, are they truly meeting my needs? Are they truly putting in the effort to
Mm.
meet me, right? So oftentimes in marriages, it's not necessarily the case where both people are putting in effort, right? And
Yeah.
sadly, the tools that are out there can be helpful, but they're not going to be the end all be all. So, like counseling is one tool, right?
Yeah.
Understanding love languages might be another tool.
Yep.
There are a ton of tools out there, but um, the point is, if you've exhausted all tools, and even with this framework, if you're
Mm-hmm.
using this framework over and over again, and you're finding that there continues to be a misalignment, right? The data is there for you to make a reasonable decision for
Yeah.
yourself. If the reasonable
Yes.
decision for you is that you want to keep giving it a go for another year and maybe things will get better and there are kids involved and a mortgage involved, then that's fine, right? To each their own. If
Yes.
you feel like you've had enough and you want
Mhm.
to lead a fulfillment, but you're not sure if it's the right decision or not, this framework will show you whether it's the right decision, right? I would say definitely do it a few times throughout a stretch
Yeah.
of period. Don't just do it one time and be like, yeah, that we
I'm
need to
out.
get to, I'm
Yeah.
out. Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
not the goal, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I went on.
But that makes total sense.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about it, and as you were like, one of the things that I think also makes us feel anxious or also makes us feel like we're shrinking or shape shifting
Mhm.
is when, not necessarily circumstantially because someone is forcing us to be that way, but because we are subconsciously choosing to walk away from our values
Oh
and our
yeah.
standards.
Oh yeah.
And so I love this idea of this as a tool to be like, if you're feeling anxious or if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like this marriage or this relationship really isn't working, this
Mhm.
is the ability to be like, to identify, where am I abandoning myself? Where do I, because that you cannot be happy. Compromise is one thing, right? Relationships require compromise. But you cannot ever be happy. Your true happiness lies in your authenticity.
100%. I love how you phrase that, and I'm gonna use that actually.
Yes,
It's
please.
such a great way to identify where you are abandoning yourself because a lot of people, and I think women in particular, we have the tendency to be self-sacrificers. How can I be
Yes.
there for you? Right.
Hmm.
And we enjoy doing that, right? I do
Yes.
believe that for a large part, it comes from a heart and just a joy of being nurturing, right?
Hmm.
But it can get to a point where we're completely dismissing what we need and we're not working on ourselves, right? And again, it
Right.
goes back to then you're putting it in their mind that
Hmm.
that's their right and they're entitled to that. So then they stop being grateful for all those things that you do. They start expecting it and then you get drained. And when you get drained, how do you have time to put towards yourself if education, whether it's podcasts, articles, school, whatever it may be, if that's one of your top five values, do you have enough energy to put towards that? Or are you abandoning yourself so that you can boost his score, right? Or
Right.
her score,
Right.
right?
Yes, or your kids'
Or
scores
your
or
kids.
anything like.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I think this is profound, truly. And I think if you are in relationship, whether you be married or whether you be dating and really trying to give it a go, being able to identify where you're slipping in your authenticity, working on yourself in that way, but then that gives you a really clear communication channel to be like, this is what I'm working on for me, but this is the need that I'm seeing in our relationship. Can we talk about this? Like, versus just be like, I'm feeling XYZ, or you're just so frustrated because you haven't expressed anything and then you snap on them, which is
yeah.
human nature. We're all humans doing the
Mhm,
humaning. But
mhm.
like, I think this is a very interesting way to really like continue to identify the foundation of who you are, what you've built, what you're looking for, and building a relationship on yourself and how you communicate that. I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm fascinated.
yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about values. Tell
Mhm.
me more about the traits situation.
Sure. Okay, so when you score yourself, you only score yourself on values. You
Okay.
don't score yourself on traits. So traits are things that are inherent, things that aren't so changeable, right? That could be
Mm,
appearance, it could be your sense of humor,
mm.
it can be kindness, right? There are just things that are just you. It's your essence,
Inherent in
right?
you. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mhm.
You can't just all of a sudden become funny. Like,
Exactly, exactly. Humor
I hate
tends
to
to
say
be
it.
a top trait for women, actually.
Mhm. Yeah.
But the values, those are more decisions, right? Those are more
Mm.
lifestyle decisions, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, they'll be very much influenced by how you grew up or your environment, but at the end of the
Yes.
day, they are decisions, right? So you don't rate yourself on traits. The reason for
Okay.
that is because you can be attracted to opposite, right?
Mm.
So, for example, I am an introvert. I
Mm.
lean towards introversion, but I'm actually attracted to extroverts, right?
Mhm.
And same thing can be said for like shyness versus outgoingness, or someone who's adventurous versus someone who's just a bit more of a homebody, right? So when
Mhm.
you identify your trait preferences, um, not only should you do that based on what you want, but also what your patterns are. The
Hmm.
reason I mention patterns is because a lot of us tend to fall into unhealthy dynamics,
Mhm.
maybe with emotionally unavailable people, maybe controlling people, maybe a bad boy, bad girl type, whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
Traits take into account not just positive traits, but destructive traits too.
Oh, this is getting so good.
Mhm. And that's how you can figure out whether someone is a match that in your mind you are aligned with, right? So values is a conscious alignment. Traits
Okay.
can be a very subconscious alignment, where if you grew up in
Mm.
a dysfunctional household, you
Mhm.
may unconsciously be looking for a trait that matches that. Okay.
Yes.
So if you keep on falling into the same pattern over and over and over again, I would actually challenge you to identify whether there's a trait there that you don't realize that you're drawn to. Okay. So
Yes.
when you have your top five traits, you measure your partner against each one. You tally up that score, and then you average out that score, the partner trait score, with the partner value score. Now, some people are
Interesting.
right down the middle. They feel that traits are exactly just as important as values. But as many of us have been before, sometimes we completely bypass values and we go for traits only.
Right. You're like, oh my God, the chemistry is off the charts.
Right.
Like, yes, totally.
Nothing else makes sense, but the chemistry
Mm-hmm.
is off the chain. And oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, my dopamine is
Right.
all out of whack, my serotonin, my oxytocin, and the whole thing, right? The whole shebang.
Yep.
So we have to be careful with that. Okay. And that's a very good identifier to see if you're more traits focused or more values focused. So we found from
Mm.
the surveys that the people who were currently in a relationship tended to be healthy emotionals. What that means is they were just slightly leaning towards traits, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
all the way, right? Which would be the extreme emotional, and
Yes.
also not values focused only. So there's the healthy practical, which is leaning towards values, and then there's
Yeah.
the extreme practical, which is all the way out where you don't even care about chemistry, you just want someone who's good on paper, right? And
Yeah.
total lack of fulfillment there. So the best
Yeah.
fulfillment seems to be the healthy emotional.
Interesting.
Yeah. So with the traits, so to answer how this all fits in, you're not
Yeah.
just evaluating lifestyle compatibility, which would be your standards. You're also
Yes.
evaluating attraction, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily choose who you're attracted to. And I'm going to show you right now how hard it is to change the trait preferences. Okay. So Betsy, let
Yes.
me ask you, can you control
Yeah.
what you find is funny?
No,
Can you control that?
I
Like,
don't think so.
okay, exactly. In the same way, it's very difficult to control who you're attracted to. But
Mm.
what this framework allows you to do is if there are destructive traits there that you happen to be drawn to, and you're finding that that person is scoring high, as humans, we have the ability to make decisions. We are not all instinct, right? Yes, we have
Right.
that primal reptilian brain, but we also have the ability, for free will to some extent,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And to make smart decisions. So, this isn't necessarily going to tell you how to not be attracted to someone. This is going to
Yeah.
tell you, hey, you may be attracted to destructive traits. And if that person is scoring high, you need to be careful and make the right decision, the smart decision, not spiral here, and go along your way and find someone that has a good mix of both values and traits.
If you're building your dream business and you know you need to build an email list, but the idea of picking and using an email platform totally overwhelms you, trust me, I get it. But I've got you, girl. Flowdesk is where it's at. Flowdesk is the email marketing platform designed with female entrepreneurs in mind. Think gorgeous, on-brand templates plus powerful workflows that save you hours. I promise you, I've never used an easier email platform with such stunning results. Whether you're sending an email launching a new offer or podcast episode, sharing new news, or trying out a fancy workflow to convert a new email subscriber into a paying customer, Flowdesk helps you show up professionally with ease without spending a ton of time or money. And not to mention, these emails are gorgeous. And because you're a Write Your Own Story podcast listener, you get an exclusive 50% off your first year of Flowdesk. Plus, they'll send you $19 cash back when you join using the link in the show notes. So if you're ready to send stunning emails that convert and actually enjoy the process, click the link in the show notes and give Flowdesk a try. That's 50% off your first year plus $19 back in your pocket. Check out Flowdesk today. It's like your super talented email writing best friend. I promise you won't regret it. Now, back to the episode. I love this. Okay, can we talk more examples of what traits are? Like, is it over 6'2" with a beard, like
It
dark
can
hair?
be. It can
Yeah.
be. So the top 5 traits for women, I'd have to pull up the stats, but off the top of my head,
Yeah.
humor, intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
generosity was the number 1 for men. Men, and I was so happy to see this. I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, right.
Oh, but it was a toss up for men. Of course it was. Right after, a very close second, might even be the same physical appearance. I'm like, yeah, of
Yep.
course, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, how predictable. Right.
Where did physical appearance land for women?
I think it was number 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So, actually, if you want, I can pull it up real quick. and
Oh my God, I love
let you
data.
go.
Let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay.
No pressure. And if it's weird, if your computer's being weird, we could just keep going. But I'm like so excited to dive into this because
No.
I want to give people, it's interesting when I think about generosity, I might have put that as a value or like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know
but
it's tough because some of them do overlap, like an
yeah,
adventurous soul, like,
yeah,
is that values or is that traits? So I think it can be both. I think there are some things
yeah,
that can be a lifestyle choice, but
yeah,
I think that it can also be something that's inherent to you, right? For the
yeah.
generosity, for me, I put it under dependability and reliability, right?
Hmm.
That's what
Like,
it kind of overlaps in that sense, right?
yeah, yeah, I could
Okay.
see that.
Okie dokie. Let's see. Top 5 traits for women. Number 1, generous, thoughtful, kind.
Hmm.
Number 2, humor, wit, and cleverness. Third was body shape, height, and appearance. So for
Hmm.
us, it fell under number 3. Number
Yeah.
4, passionate, driven, ambitious.
Mm.
And number 5 was intelligence. Okay.
Yes to all of these.
Hmm. Okay, now you want to hear the men's? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 1, generous, thoughtful, kind.
Okay.
I really appreciated that.
Yep.
Um, number 2 was appearance, body shape, height,
Okay.
appearance. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 3, humor.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
it was sweet.
Yeah.
Number 4, sexuality and sensuality. So
All
that did
right.
not appear for women's top 5, but it did appear
Yeah.
as number 4 for men. And then for number 5, it was an exact match for them between emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
intuition, and having good instinct, which
Wow.
yeah. And then the other one was being passionate, driven, and ambitious.
Very cool.
Hmm. Yeah,
So interesting.
yeah,
Oh my God. I
yeah.
love this.
It does differ a tiny bit by age groups as well. All the
Yeah.
analytics are actually on the website. Love can in fact be calculated. Um,
I'll be spending hours there.
yeah, yeah. And
I
here,
love
do
analytics.
you want to know the top 5 values for both men and women?
Yes, I do. You read my mind.
Okay. So for men, number 1, honesty, dependability, reliability. 2,
Hmm.
communication style and manners. So they
Hmm.
want someone who's sweet.
Yeah.
Very.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Number 3, education, knowledge, street smarts.
Mm.
4, family values. 5,
Hmm.
financial choices.
All right.
Mhm,
I can respect all of those.
mhm. For women, honesty, dependability,
Hmm.
communication style and manners,
Hmm.
occupation, work ethic, and self-discipline was number 3. So that didn't show up for
Oh,
men, it showed up for women.
yeah.
Number 4, education, street smarts, and knowledge. The number 5
Yeah.
was financial choices. So
Wow.
so the difference here is where family values showed up for men, it didn't show up for women. And where
Interesting.
occupation showed up for women, it didn't show up for men.
So interesting.
Mhm,
Now, you had mentioned in traits for people to be able to identify the negative traits that they continue to kind of be attracted to. Do you have
mhm.
some examples of what negative traits might be?
Yeah, so emotional unavailability,
Mm.
dominance, controlling aspects, right? Or controlling behaviors, right?
Yeah.
It would depend on the person. Like, a dysfunction, like, so this is kind of sad, but imagine someone who grew up, in a household where the father and mother was an alcoholic, right?
Hmm.
And they keep on falling in a pattern of, alcoholic relationships. So that's not a value of theirs. That's not necessarily something they choose. I don't know that
Right.
anyone would necessarily choose that for their
Right.
life, right? But then they fall into it. So
Mm.
like alcoholism, could be one of
Hmm.
them, right? So I think it depends for everyone, but essentially destructive traits are the ones that cause self-harm and that
Yeah.
are not conducive to a healthy, fulfilling, and self-respecting relationship or a respectful relationship.
And that makes total sense. And then when I think about, no one would necessarily list on their traits list, like, I want an alcoholic and
Right.
I want someone who has inconsistent communication. And so, like,
I
it
know.
would almost be like, when I think of, gosh, I could totally have this wrong, and I super hope I don't offend anyone, but from some of the reading that I've done around relationships with alcoholism and their partner, is that their partner becomes codependent on the alcoholic because they want to save someone.
Right.
So like maybe you're attracted to someone who needs love and attention, as
Yeah.
opposed to then how about someone who has love and attention to give?
Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
you might be attracted to broken people because you find
yeah,
self-validation in
right.
fixing them, right? And
And
maybe
that makes
there's
you feel safe.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I will say that maybe there's something there where it's like you're just looking for edge, right? Because I do
Yeah.
find the people who tend to be broken, they're also
Mm,
edgy. They're also
yeah.
hilarious sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know what I mean? The dark
Totally.
humor, right? So it's like maybe that's what they're looking for, minus
Mhm.
the brokenness, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they're so drawn to those other positive qualities and they want to hold on to those other positive qualities that they're like, maybe if I just fix that little part of you, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, if it comes with a package, if you're
Yep.
constantly attracted to that entire package, then that
Mm.
package would be a part of your trait preferences, sadly, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's very difficult to change what you're attracted to and what your body wants, right? Like,
Yes.
you can have someone perfect on paper, but your body's like, nah, like,
Right.
mm.
No, this isn't nearly exciting enough. This
Yeah, and then
doesn't
there's
keep me
someone
on
who's
my
like
toes
total
enough.
trouble, and you're like, "Oh
Yes.
yeah, my body
Mhm.
wants that one," right? And
Yep.
yeah, so it's just the
If
body
I
wants
can
what it
tame
wants.
that one.
What? Say that
Yeah.
again?
If I can tame that one, then I win. Like,
Then
yeah,
I
I know.
win.
Uh-huh. Gosh. That one I don't speak from experience on, but I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gosh. Okay, this is super fascinating.
Mhm.
So we've outlined values and kind of really nailed down the differences between values and traits. But what I love is, again, it's not just this like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to find the right person. I'm going to put this criteria together and then I'm going to have this evaluative tool. So much of it is around how do you line up against your values? What traits are you noticing as positive and what traits are you noticing as negative? This is
Yeah.
such an eye-opening experience, which like is so empowering. And in life, you can only control your controllables, and that's all within yourself.
Mhm.
So much of life, I always say, is an inside job. And it's exhausting, but like once you get good at it, it's like a muscle and you're like, okay, I can do this. This isn't so overwhelming. So I think this is incredibly empowering. One of the
Exactly.
other things that I found sort of researching your work was this concept around relationship dynamics. So is that a trait thing, or is that like what dynamics should women kind of be most aware of?
Yeah.
Does that go back to the trait piece?
That goes back to like the anxious avoidant piece, right?
Ah,
So
gotcha.
there are three zones that I identified. The first
Okay.
one is red,
Mm-hmm.
yellow, and then
Yes.
green. The
Yes.
red is two people who have been matched, right? It's the scores are a match, but it's a match of low scores. What
Mm.
that means is you have low self-worth, and now you've matched with someone who also has low self-worth.
Mm.
And now you're going to fall into a toxic dynamic. Now you might both be anxious, right? You might both be
Mhm.
poking at each other's insecurities. You might both
Yeah.
be competitive. You might both be wounded, jaded, unhealed, right? And all
Mhm.
of that comes out in two people just not getting along, right?
Yeah.
But it's still a match, which is why they end up staying together, right? They know
Interesting.
deep down that they can do better and they can be in something healthier, but they themselves are not healthy. So if they're not healthy, like an extreme emotional, for example, will very easily fall into a red zone or yellow zone, very easily,
Ooh,
because
yeah.
it those are unhealed patterns that they have, right? Same
Yes.
thing with the self-sacrifice, or sadly, if you keep giving, 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 that's not coming from a place of high self-worth, right?
Yeah.
So it's not to put anyone down. I know I've been here before, right? But
Sure.
it does help to gain some self-awareness here, where if you are constantly falling in a red zone dynamic, what does that say about your self-score? Is there something
Yeah.
that can be worked on? Do you fall under any of the extreme personality types, which I've identified 8 of them in the book, right? Do you
Okay.
fall under any of the distortions, whether it's the competitor distortion, the infatuation distortion, the self-sacrificing, and the hero distortion, the whole thing, right? So That's one of the zones. The second one is the yellow zone, which we kind of touched on earlier. So infatuation lives here, where
Mm,
you worship the other person. You've given them such a
yep.
high score, right? And with that, then clearly you're going to overgive, overforgive. You're going to compromise your own values, right? You're going to
Mhm.
be okay with lack of consistency and predictability because you think you're so lucky to have them, right? And very
Yeah.
naturally, that will fall into an anxious avoidant pattern. If you read all the behaviors of each side, that exactly matches someone with a low score and someone with a high score. It's basically one person thinks they can do better.
Yeah. Which I mean, clearly that won't last.
Yeah, no, it won't. It won't. And if it
Yeah.
does, it's because the high scorer is taking advantage of you.
Oh,
Either money
God.
wise, sexually, maybe they're
Yep.
bored, maybe you're a placeholder. So, and I'm saying this again not to hurt anyone, it's just to have
Yeah.
some good awareness on the dynamic that you're in and for you to choose that you're better than that dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Work on that self-esteem,
yeah,
girl. Yep. I
exactly.
love that. I love that so much.
Yeah. And then finally, we have the third green
Mhm.
zone. This is someone with high self worth that says, I know my worth, and oh my
Mhm.
God, you're great too. Let's see if we can make it work. So, naturally, communication will be healthy
Yeah.
because you have your standards. You're not over seeking, you're not over needing, you're not whatever, right? Because you're fulfilled within yourself. But at the same
Yeah.
time, if the other person slips, then you feel comfortable saying, hey, like you're kind of not meeting me right now and I need to be
Yeah.
met, right? And the other
Mhm.
person should also have that level of confidence. You don't want to be with someone who's walking on eggshells. You want them to be working on themselves, have their own standards, meeting their own standards, and also feel comfortable telling you when you're slipping, right?
Yeah.
Hence the green zone. So, with
I love
that
that.
said, it's very easy to go from green zone to yellow zone to red zone. That happened within my relationship, right? So,
Mhm.
when we first did the framework, that was very much a green zone relationship, very
Yeah.
much. Over time, it wasn't. Over time, we fell into a red zone, right?
Yeah.
Then it shifted, oscillated between green and yellow and other times red. So it happens, right? And like you can work on that is what I'm trying to say. You can bring it
Yeah.
back to a green zone. But I will tell you that if you're constantly in red or yellow, constantly, and you're not
Yeah.
able to bring yourself back to a place of alignment, um, then yeah, the info is there for you. And again, do what you will with the information, but it's
Yeah.
there. It's there.
Yeah. Well, and it's like it's nice substantiation so that you stop gaslighting yourself. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe that, like if I just work harder, if I just stick around longer, if like, I think what I really appreciate, one of the many things I appreciate that you're saying is like, give this time, continue to reevaluate over time. This isn't the like, if we've slipped to red, it's not over. It's an
Mhm.
opportunity for self growth and for the relationship to grow. Like if you guys have that level of commitment, give it a go. But also, the data is a reflection of where you are within your own self.
Yeah.
And so again, back to this like self-sacrificing a slip in authenticity, that's something for you to protect,
Mhm. Yeah,
you know?
exactly, exactly. It's at the end of it, it's just a tool for reflection, right? So yeah, you can fall under any of these like dynamics or whatever. Um, but if you have a good self-score, that's how you can feel rest assured that you're like
Yeah.
going to make the right decision and fall in a secure dynamic.
I love that so much. This has been absolutely fascinating. Has
Mhm.
there been anything that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about to all the listeners out there? Because I feel like we have covered so much. Your book has such level, and your analysis and everything has such level of depth and breadth that I'm like, oh my God, I could go on. We could go on and on about
Yeah.
this, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time and your time. Is there anything else that we haven't covered?
Not really. I feel like I loved your questions and I love these
Thank you.
conversations. And I feel
Yeah.
like we really went into like the psychology of,
Yeah.
like dynamics of confidence, the importance of confidence, right? I'm lucky that I managed to calculate and not calculate. I'm lucky that I managed to validate this with
Mhm.
actual data analytics because now
Yes.
I can confidently tell you that if you work on yourself, things will be okay. It literally comes down to that. That cliche, you
Yeah.
can't love someone else unless you love yourself, is now validated. So
Yes.
just work on yourself, and the framework, pick your standards. It doesn't have to be your top 5, pick top 10, whatever, right?
Yeah. Right.
Work on that. And I promise you the pieces will fall into place. And also, I would encourage you, because one thing that I did not find in the surveys that I wish was a bit more common knowledge was
Mhm.
purpose did not fall in people's top 5 values. I can't even remember if it fell in the top 10.
Yeah.
Purpose is a natural medicine. That's literally the basis of you feeling good to work on all those other things. If you lead your life with purpose, you will naturally gain the strength to go to the gym, to go for that run, to go hang out with your friend, to go text your family member, hey, thinking about you. Like the foundation, in my opinion, is purpose, that natural medicine. And
I love
I
that.
wish that I had seen that in the surveys more, and I'm not seeing it. So I guess my word of advice or whatever
Yeah.
is start to include that in your top 5 or top 10 and work on that. Work on that. Everything else will fall into place.
I I connect with that so vividly where like when my marriage ended and I was at such a low point
Uh-huh.
and I went back to consulting and I was so grateful for the opportunity and still am.
Uh-huh.
But what really changed my life was to connect with my purpose.
Uh-huh.
And it has been a slow untangling of all of sort of like the hits and the discovery and all the things, but because I've had purpose along the way, I've stayed motivated.
Yeah.
And I think that is I didn't even realize that that was my fuel until you just said
Yeah.
it. um but like again, if you really sit with your purpose, and your purpose could be multifaceted, right? Like you and I both do multifaceted things in life that are both purpose driven. I think that is like, if you're ever feeling low on energy, to your point, that is such an incredible place to start. God,
Absolutely.
I love that. That makes me want to get a tattoo of the word purpose. Oh, this has been absolutely fascinating. I think, in general, the vibe is that everyone's skeptical about dating,
Mhm.
right? I think I've read time and time again that especially for women, more women are choosing to stay single. Like 80% or something of women are just like, I'm out. But like I think that this gives so much sort of tangible, practical like life lessons and just like solid foundation for people to evaluate, to your point, themselves first and foremost, and to
Mhm.
find that growth in themselves. And even if we just stop there, what a gift. But
Yeah.
also, if you do want to venture into the dating world, or you do want to work on your existing relationships, these are statistically areas in which you can solidly work to improve your
Mhm.
situation, which I think that's just what everyone is looking for,
Yeah.
because to your point, going back to the whole social thing, everyone is fed. This is what it should look like. Should is my biggest red flag word.
Oh God.
If I say the word should, I'm like, oh, I'm in the wrong spot.
Uh-huh.
It's like, what is true to me? So I think that this is just like, this is your way. You get to drive the data. The top 5 that you read off, those were statistically significant, which is really fascinating,
Mhm.
but they don't have to be your top 5,
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
this gives you so much control. This is
Exactly.
absolutely
Exactly. And they'll
inspiring.
change over time. Like I said, like I
Yeah.
never used to have peace of mind as a top 5. And now it's just
Mm-hmm.
so important to me, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
do assume that that's a choice, right? I choose to engage with people that give me peace of mind. I choose to engage with clients that give me peace of mind. I choose
Yeah.
to like work my day around peace of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will change. The list that I've given was very generic, right? It's just let me do the surveys and let's see what we see, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, but I think it's very wise to go outside of this and, be authentic and know what's true for you, right?
So good.
Yeah.
So, so good. Zoe, thank you I know
Yeah.
you run another full-time business. So thank you for all the energy and effort then like from your purpose to serve, to give your pain purpose. And I think that it's just absolutely inspiring for anyone. Where can we find this book?
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. So it's called Love Can In Fact Be Calculated. You can find it on the Barnes& and Noble website. If you're in
Awesome.
SoCal, it's inside the Huntington Barnes& and Noble store and Spectrum.
Awesome.
Irvine Barnes and Noble store. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this. And then you mentioned the website too that has all this interesting information.
Yeah, it's lovecanininfactbecalculated.com.
Awesome. Oh, you guys, if I don't know, my curiosity is just like on fire right now. So I will be visiting this website and getting the book. I can't wait to dive in.
Thank
Thank
you.
you again.
Thank
And you guys,
you.
everyone share this episode. This is all about self-worth and self like evaluation and just like what a gift to have some structure to it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Betsy. I really appreciate your kind words.
Oh, absolutely. All right, you guys. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownsstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.